Well, good afternoon, good evening, or good morning, depending where you're watching from. Welcome back here to the pad. My name's Zach. I'm the host here at the Launch Pad, and thank you so much for joining us for our live launch coverage of today's Rocket Lab Electron 19 launch. They go up so fast. We're just waiting for Rocket Lab to pull up their live feed here to tune into their broadcast. We're currently about 30 minutes away from the targeted, or actually 25 minutes away from the targeted launch attempt of today's Electron launch. Really exciting launch for Rocket Lab, as with this launch, when successful, they will be passing over 100 satellites having been deployed in orbit, with a total of 19 launches and only one failure included in there. Today's satellites are going to be going up to 450 kilometers as well as a 550 kilometer, both low Earth orbits at a 45-degree inclination. They're going to be launching from Rocket Lab's Launch Complex 1A at the Mahia Peninsula in New Zealand. And there are 6 different satellites on board today. Again, we're just waiting for Rocket Lab to pull up their stream. We did hear that everything was progressing well into their count for today. They're not going to be attempting to do their recovery of the first stage on today's flight. They are getting ready to start doing those recovery attempts later into this year, and the fairings will not be recovered. This is not something that's actually capable of the Electron rocket. Now, if you are normally with us, you've probably followed us on Twitter. Make sure you have done that if you have not. We talked earlier last week about Rocket Lab's big announcement of their new Neutron rocket. We're preparing a video for that, so make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube to get notified when that video comes out. Again, this is the 19th Electron launch. This is the second Rocket Lab launch of 2021 and the 24th orbital attempt of 2021 of any organization globally. One thing they will be doing with this launch is they will be deploying their second test of the Photon satellite, which is turning the second stage into their own Rocket Lab satellite. And we are seeing that Rocket Lab has pulled up their stream here, so we're going to get that pulled up here as well as we prepare for them to begin their live coverage here. So we'll get that pulled up. We're going to switch me over just until they actually start, and we will go from there. If you have any questions, let us know in the chat. Let us know where you're watching from. Also share out the broadcast. Let people know. Not everybody follows Rocket Lab super closely, but it's our favorite little black rocket that we love to watch, and we are excited to just see another great attempt from them here coming up today. We're just waiting for them to pull their stream up. We are red because that is Rocket Lab colors. Hello, Tip Top Coast. Hello, Bobby. What's going on here? We are here for the launch of Rocket Lab Electron number 19. They go up so fast. So we're just waiting for them to bring us those live feeds. Of these payloads that are on board today, there is the Pathstone satellite, which is a Rocket Lab satellite. We don't know the weight of this, but it will be deployed at a 45-degree inclination, along with all the other satellites at 450 kilometers. And this is the Photon satellite test. On board is also a BlackSky Global Series satellite, which will be deployed. We're not sure at which orbit, but either 450 or 550 kilometers. That's produced by Spaceflight Inc. We have the Century 3, which is a Fleet Space produced by Tyvak, I believe it is, being deployed at 550 kilometers. We have the Myriota, probably said that wrong, also by Tyvak. We're not sure which orbit it's being deployed in. We have the Very Hatchling, which is a Care Weather Technologies satellite. And we have the M2, which is from the University of New South Wales, the Canberra Space. We don't know the weight of it or the orbit either. And we have the Gunsmoke J, which is a U.S. Army SMDC, which was produced by Tricept, which, again, undisclosed information about. But we'll probably get some more information once they are live. They generally let us know which ones are being deployed. But we'll take a listen and see if we'll be able to see deployment or not. The Pathstone test of the Photon that they're going to be doing is going to demonstrate a number of different capabilities as they prepare for their Capstone mission, which will be their first lunar CubeSat mission later this year in partnership with NASA. And they are preparing for their private mission to Venus in 2023. So Rocket Lab really starting to grow. They used to be that small little rocket company, and now they're really becoming a major competitor, especially with Neutron coming up in a few years. That'll be human launch capable, large sat launch capable as well. So lots of different things. The Pathstone today will demonstrate power management, thermal control, altitude control, deep space radio capability, an upgraded reaction control system, so the RCS for stabilizing and movement in space. It'll have sun sensors as well as star trackers. This is only the second time Rocket Lab will be having launched a Photon test satellite, which is basically turning their second stage into a first stage. If you want to learn more, you can always check out the Rocket Lab website. Lots of information that they go there. But at this point, we're going to be sitting right about ready for the go, no go poll. Looks like they're a little bit delayed coming up here, so we're just waiting on that. But after that go, no go, launch auto sequence will begin at T-minus 2 minutes. We'll have the Rutherford ignition at T-minus 2 seconds, liftoff at T0. Main engine cutoff will occur 2 minutes, 25 seconds into flight, followed immediately by stage 1 separation and ignition of the second stage Rutherford engine. Fairing separation will be about 20 seconds later. Almost 3 minutes later, we will have battery hot swap, which is where we actually see, rather than keeping dead batteries on board, they just get rid of them, switch to new ones for it. Electron will officially reach orbit 8 minutes and 30 seconds into today's launch. Stage 2 will separate from the Photon shortly after. We will then wait actually about 40 minutes to see the first ignition of the Curie engine on the second stage component. That will have it looks like well over a minute burn here. The first 5 payloads will be deployed 54 minutes, 56 seconds into flight. We'll wait another 5 minutes for a second burn. That will have cutoff, and then we will actually have a third burn, and then final deployment will be 1 hour and 49 minutes into today's flight. Knowing Rocket Lab and their history, generally speaking, they do not stay live necessarily for all these type of deployments. We'll probably hear confirmation of orbit. We may or may not see some part of the deployment. We'll have to wait and see what they do here tonight, especially with their new announcements. A lot of eyes are focusing on them, so we are waiting to see that. I'm just going to check on Twitter because they're rather late for coming live. So let's see if there's been any sort of announcement. They went live on their Twitter 3 minutes ago, so they should still be good for it. So we're just waiting a moment there. Again, if you have any questions, though, let us know in the chat. Send it in with the hashtag AskTLP, and I'll make sure that I see it here. And those questions can be about Rocket Lab. It could be SpaceX if you wanted, anything like there. But we are currently awaiting today's launch. The launch window opens at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. So that's 4:30 p.m. Mountain, 3:30 p.m. Pacific. So we are 19 minutes away from the launch window opening, and they were targeting the beginning of that launch window. So should there have to be any sort of scrub, we will be hearing that. And the music is turned up, and they are starting their stream. We're just going to turn their music down just for this beginning part here, as we want to make sure that we are not getting any copyright strikes. So we are here for the whole thing. Such a beautiful launch site, though. Again, if you haven't followed us over on Twitter, you follow us at TLPN_official. And if you are new to us on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube for exclusive interviews, live launch, landing, testing coverage. We'll be back hopefully tomorrow or the next day with the launch of Starship SN11. We have Starlink on Wednesday, and then possibly some other launches later in the week. So make sure you stay with us. And we are going to tune in live here right now.
Welcome to the launch broadcast for They Go Up So Fast, Rocket Lab's 19th Electron mission. It is Tuesday, March 23rd here in Auckland, New Zealand, where we're joining you from Rocket Lab's Mission Control Centre. We're in the final minutes of the countdown to liftoff from Launch Complex 1, currently scheduled for 11:30 New Zealand time. My name is Muriel Baker, and I'm the Senior Communications Advisor here at Rocket Lab.
And I'm Scott Moeller. I'm the Propulsion Engineering Manager in the Propulsion Development Department for the Electron's 3D printed Rutherford engines, and I am thrilled to be joining you for another Electron launch. Today's mission is a special one, as it will tip us past 100 satellites deployed for our incredible customers. With 6 satellites on board, plus our very own Photon spacecraft, today's deployment sequence will take place in 2 parts. First, Electron's Photon spacecraft will act as a kick stage to deploy 5 satellites to a 550-kilometer circular orbit. Then, we'll use Photon's Curie engine to lower the spacecraft's orbit to 450 kilometers for the final customer deployment. From there, Photon will remain on orbit to build flight heritage ahead of an exciting mission to the moon for NASA this year. But more on that later. We're proud to be welcoming some repeat customers onto Electron again for this mission, and we're also excited to work with some new ones.
One of the repeat smallsat operators and the first payload manifested for this launch is Earth observation company BlackSky. Their Gen 2 spacecraft will become part of a constellation to deliver real-time global monitoring from space for public and private organisations. We've also got 3 Australian small satellite operators on board Electron today. The first is from Fleet Space in South Australia, who first flew on Electron in 2018 on our It's Business Time mission. Fleet Space are building out an Internet of Things constellation in low Earth orbit, which their Centauri 3 6U nanosat on this mission will soon join. This satellite will also support the 2023 Seven Sisters mission out of Australia that will investigate new resource exploration techniques for Earth, the Moon and Mars in support of NASA's Artemis program.
The next Australian spacecraft is the Myriota 7 satellite, another Internet of Things smallsat. Myriota's mission is to provide access to data from anywhere on Earth for those working in the utilities, transport, and logistics space. The third Australian satellite is the M2 satellite built by the University of New South Wales Canberra Space. Working with the Royal Australian Air Force for this mission, M2 will bring together technologies that cover Earth and marine observation, quantum computing, artificial intelligence, and communications.
Other satellites on this mission include the Very Hatchling 1U CubeSat from CareWeather, a company focused on saving lives through better forecasting of Earth's extreme weather.
And last but not least, we have an experimental CubeSat from the U.S. Army's Space and Missile Defense Command, or SMDC, flying on Electron today.
Now there's also one more payload on this mission that we're very excited to tell you about. We have a Rocket Lab Photon spacecraft on board. This will be the second of our in-house built customizable satellites launched on Electron, and we've named this one Pathstone. Like Photon First Light before it, Pathstone will first perform its usual kick-stage responsibilities of deploying our customer satellites, before making the switch to Photon mode and carrying on with its own mission in low Earth orbit. Here to tell us more about the Photon on this mission is Jane McNichol in our Rocket Lab Long Beach headquarters. It's great to see you, Jane.
Thanks, Muriel. My name is Jane, and I'm a mission integration engineer here at Rocket Lab. I'm excited to be joining you from our Mission Operations Center inside our headquarters in Long Beach, California. It's from our production complex here on the West Coast, where our team produces more than 130 Rutherford engines and guidance and avionics hardware for our Electron rocket every year. It's also where our team builds our Photon spacecraft and operates them once on orbit from some of these consoles in the Operations Center that you can see behind me. Photon is pretty unique in that we can first use it as a kick stage from which to deploy our customer satellites. Then we can switch it into spacecraft mode to stay on orbit and complete secondary missions. Essentially, it performs 2 functions. First, as part of the launch vehicle, then second, on its own as a standalone spacecraft. After Photon has deployed all customer payloads on today's mission, it will remain on orbit to build flight heritage for hardware and subsystems ahead of our mission to the moon for NASA later this year. The Photon Pathstone launching today has several updated subsystems from Photon First Light, launched in August 2020. The primary technical and risk reductions and goals for Photon Pathstone will be to advance test the flight computer, test GNC algorithms and flight software updates, conduct radio and Doppler ranging testing, and also validate our own in-house built solar panels. All that testing will be used to inform our most complex spacecraft mission yet, the Capstone mission, which will see Rocket Lab place a satellite into lunar orbit for NASA. Capstone will serve as a precursor for Gateway, a moon orbiting outpost that is part of the Artemis program to return humans to the lunar surface. Today's launch is another step towards this thrilling mission that our team can't wait to see launched later this year. They're counting down the minutes to lift off, and I'm eager to go join them, so I'm going to hand it back to you in Mission Control.
Thanks, Jane. Right now, we're at about T minus 12 minutes and coming up to the go, no-go poll run by our launcher with our launch operators. That's due to begin shortly, so let's listen now to Mission Control.
Com ops, com checks.
So this is the final go, no-go poll for the Electron rocket. They give a great rundown of all the satellites on board here. So we're just going to take a listen
All right.
in.
And all stations LD on mission court at this time. We are proceeding with the go, no-go sequence, number 43. Stage, are you go?
Stages go.
Avionics.
Avionics is go.
Avionics up.
Avionics up is go.
GNC.
GNC is go.
Beacon.
Beacon is go.
T1.
T1 is go.
GC.
GC is go.
PLS.
PLS is go.
RSO.
RSO is go.
MET.
MET is go.
MM.
MM is go.
LDSUP.
LDSUP is go.
And exec.
Exec is go.
Stations LD on mission. The go, no-go sequence is now complete. We are currently T-minus 11 minutes, 17 seconds and counting. I can confirm we go for terminal count at T-minus 10 minutes. Be advised from this time onwards, the 3-word hold procedure is in effect.
There we go. That was the green light we needed to launch, and we are go as we approach T-minus 10 minutes and 54 seconds until liftoff.
Now, when it comes to missions beyond Earth's orbit, there's still a lot to learn about how humanity will further explore our solar system. But there's one particular orbit near our moon that will be a great place to start. As Jane mentioned, Electron and Photon will launch to the moon for NASA later this year in support of the Artemis program. Photon will complete a series of orbit raises using its Hypercurie engine before deploying NASA's Capstone CubeSat toward its intended near rectilinear halo orbit, or NRHO, around the moon. There's a bit more about this exciting mission launching later this year.
Rocket Lab is supporting NASA's mission to return humans to the moon. Launching on Electron this year, NASA's Capstone cislunar satellite will orbit the moon, serving as a pathfinder for Gateway, a moon-orbiting outpost that is part of NASA's Artemis program to return humans to the lunar surface. Capstone's mission is to refine our knowledge of the dynamics of a unique halo-shaped orbit, paving the way for people to follow. The near rectilinear
Thanks, Marcus. I was just going to say, yeah, we've got that official go for launch there. The range is good. The rocket is good. And they're just talking a little bit more about the Photon capstone that they're testing here today and kind of the mission here. So where you can you hear me now? Should be able to hear me now. We should be good. It's saying it's good on my end. So I'm going to keep going, but let me know if you can't. But yeah, we're just waiting for this final countdown here. They're talking a bit more about the satellite they're testing today. I was just saying, if you want to check that out, definitely head on over to Rocket Lab's website after the stream, jump to that T-minus 10-minute mark, and you can listen into everything they're saying. But they're basically going into kind of the whys and what's behind it, what they're testing. We're talking about small CubeSats that they're going to be trying to deploy to the moon and then eventually be able to go to Venus for their own private mission in 2023. So Rocket Lab definitely growing up, launching a lot of new exciting ventures and things there, and we should be getting those live views of the rocket back here. Once we have that liftoff, we'll be listening in. Here we go.
To fly Capstone later this year. But for now, we're just about 7 minutes away from our next launch, so let's check out the views of Electron on the pad down at LC1.
Understood, thank you.
Now, when they did complete the go, no go poll at the very end, you did hear that they are now in the 3-word hold moment, which means should there be any reason that they need to hold the launch or abort the launch, the operator will have to say it 3 times into it. So like hold, hold, hold. We're hoping we don't hear that with Electron. It looks like a pretty decent day out there, a little bit of clouds, but not too bad from what we've been hearing from Rocket Lab so far today. So we hope we don't hear that, and we're listening in as we approach that T-minus 7-minute mark. for today's launch attempt of Rocket Lab. So they just enabled the LTS for it. So we're going to listen back in here.
Thank you, avionics.
Earlier this month, we made a pretty big announcement. How big? 40 meters big, to be precise. We confirmed that a new, larger vehicle, Neutron, will be joining the Rocket Lab family.
The medium-lift Neutron rocket will be a two-stage vehicle that stands 40 metres or 131 feet tall, with a 4.5-metre fairing diameter and a lift capacity of up to 8,000 kilograms to low Earth orbit.
Neutron's 8-ton lift capacity makes it the ideal launch vehicle to deploy satellites into batches to specific orbital planes, creating a more targeted approach to building out mega constellations. But just like Electron, Neutron is designed to lift payloads beyond low Earth orbit too. With a payload capacity of 2,000 kilograms to the Moon and 1,500 kilograms to Mars and Venus, Neutron will be able to enable important science missions beyond our own planet. Neutron will initially be designed for satellite payloads, but will also be capable of International Space Station resupply and even human space flight missions, which is very exciting.
We'll be launching Neutron from Virginia's Mid-Atlantic Regional Spaceport, located at the NASA Wallops Flight Facility, where Rocket Lab's Launch Complex 2 is located. Using this existing launch pad and integration infrastructure at Mars, that means we can accelerate the timeline to first launch, which in true Rocket Lab style is sooner rather than later, expected in 2024. And I think it's safe to say Peter won't be making any promises on eating a hat anymore, because that did not look tasty.
No, it didn't. But for this mission, we won't have a live view from Electron once the second and third stages separate, but we will be staying on air through the coast phase as the kick stage makes its initial pass around Earth to circularize its trajectory. About 10 minutes into this initial coast phase, our founder and CEO, Peter Beck, will be joining us for a Q&A session on Neutron, so be sure to stick around. After that, we'll come back to you with the simulation and confirmation of payload deployment, so make sure to stay with us.
It's now T-minus 4 minutes and 42 seconds to launch. Electron and its payload is healthy on the pad, and the weather is looking clear for an on-time liftoff. Let's hand over now to Mission Control to listen in to the operators in these final seconds to launch.
ECS is disabled, pad auto sequence is armed, pad is ready for launch.
Copy GC, thank you.
So we're at T-minus 3 minutes and 20 seconds for the launch attempt here. Again, if you have any last-minute questions, let us know. They let us know a little bit more there about what we can expect, since it is a longer deployment here today. So we're definitely going to stay live for the Q&A with Peter Beck about Neutron. Hopefully hear some more details about this exciting new rocket.
Stations, this is LD on mission. From now on, there should be no red flags on your critical LCCs. Beacon LD mission.
LD beacon.
Please confirm flight computer as goes green.
Confirmed.
And please lock the auto sequence and confirm.
Locked.
Stations LD on mission, we go for auto sequence start at T-minus 2 minutes. And at this time, I can confirm LD is go for launch.
So it sounds like they will be automating that automated graphic after that Q&A about the deployment. So we'll stay live for that, answer any questions, maybe do a replay of the launch as well here. So definitely stay with us. If you're new and joining us over on Facebook, make sure you come on over, join us on YouTube, hit the subscribe button so you never miss a new video, live launch, landing, and testing coverage, exclusive interviews, and more. Welcome, Rochelle. Oh, jealous. It's gorgeous. Hopefully get to be down there sometime in the future once we get through the pandemic. All right, T-minus 2 minutes, which means auto sequence.
Full stage power is disabled. The vehicle is on internal power.
And vehicle's on internal power. Auto sequence is now underway.
LOX load is complete. System is in recirculation. Stage 1 anti-geysering is disabled.
We are at T-minus 1 minute.
Stage 1 and Stage 2 are
50
pressed for flight.
seconds.
High flow engine purge is enabled.
40.
Water deluge is activated.
You can see all the water now being sprayed onto the pad. T-minus 25 seconds. 20 seconds.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
Beautiful launch from Launch Complex 1.
They really do go up so fast with a beautiful liftoff of Electron from the pad at Launch Complex 1. We're now T plus 40 seconds into the mission and approaching max Q, or maximum aerodynamic pressure, at the 1 minute 9 mark. Max Q is the moment during launch when Electron experiences the highest amount of mechanical stress from the dynamic pressure, which is a function of its velocity and altitude. We'll be coming up on max Q in just a few seconds.
Vehicle past maximum dynamic pressure.
And there's the call that we've successfully cleared max Q. All is looking good with our trajectory, and Electron is performing nominally.
Stage 1 guidance is nominal.
AOS Chatham Station.
So we're about 30 seconds away from Stage 1 main engine cutoff and Stage 1 separation and the ignition of the Stage 2 Rutherford engine.
We're quickly approaching the next set of milestones in this mission. First up will be main engine cutoff of the 9 Rutherford engines on Electron's first stage. This is when the engines throttle down before the vehicle separates into sections, or what we call stages. Following that, the sole vacuum-optimized Rutherford engine on that second stage will fire up to continue the journey to low Earth orbit. We're a few seconds away from those events, and those calls will come in quick succession, so we're going to cross back to mission control now.
There's main engine cutoff, stage separation.
Successful.
and ignition. There we go.
Stage 2 ignition confirmed.
And you've seen it on your screen there. We have had a successful MECO, first and second stage separation and ignition of the Rutherford engine on Electron's second stage. Coming up in a few seconds, Electron's fairing will separate. The fairing is the casing at the top of the rocket that protects the satellites as they travel through Earth's atmosphere.
Fairing jettisons succeeded.
And,
High voltage battery discharge.
and there they go. The fairing has cleanly separated and
Stage two
fallen away
propulsion
from
and
Electron, which is continuing on a nominal trajectory.
Stage 2 guidance is nominal.
So we'll be coming up on the next big event will be the battery hot swap, which we are...
Electron's trajectory continues, as you'll often hear us say, nominally, with a current speed of just under 10,000 kilometers per hour and an altitude of about 165 kilometers, and we are now at about 4 minutes into the mission.
We're just coming up on just under 2 minutes away from battery hot swap, which is going to be the next main event. And then it'll be a few minute wait until they confirm that Electron has reached a good orbit. Again, stick with us. We're going to give you a little sneak peek that we normally do in our Discord, something we're working on for social media coming up here that some of our Discord community is helping on. So if you haven't joined us over on Discord yet, Discord link is in the description or in the chat, and we would love to invite you over there so you can be part of this amazing community. We want you to be part of it.
A minute away from battery hot swap.
Now, if you think back to last year, middle of last year, this is where they did have the issue following the battery hot swap with their one failed mission of, I believe it was Electron 13 or 14.
Throttle down on stage 2.
So we'll keep an eye on that speed and that altitude, but it seemed like they knew what the issue was with that and were able to solve it rather quickly there. Again,
Stage 2 propulsion remains nominal.
There we go.
High voltage battery discharge nominal. Approaching hot swap.
As we mentioned before, in the next few moments we'll be coming up to the battery hot swap, a maneuver that's very specific to the Electron rocket as the only launch vehicle flying with battery-powered electric pumps feeding our engines. When the first set of batteries are depleted during launch, we switch to a fresh one to power the engine for the rest of the mission. Sometimes you can see those battery packs fall away after the event, so let's keep an eye on the live feed from Electron and listen into mission control for the call.
We are 10 seconds away from battery hot swap.
Battery jettison confirmed.
Propulsion remains nominal.
And there we go, that's confirmation that the battery hot swap was performed successfully on Electron, and propulsion continues to look good for the rocket's second stage Rutherford engine. We're just a few minutes away from orbital insertion and kick stage separation on this mission. Electron is currently traveling at over 15,000 kilometers an hour and at an altitude of 276 kilometers above us.
Current altitude is 280 kilometers, speed 4.9 kilometers per second.
If you're just joining us, we have had a successful liftoff of our They Go Up So Fast mission. About 2.5 minutes into flight, we had main engine cutoff, stage separation, and stage 2 ignition. We're coming up on separation of the kick stage at around T+9 minutes.
If you're new, let us know. Say hello. Let us know where you're watching from. You might have seen on the screen a couple minutes ago there, we had our promo code up. If you head over to the link in the description, the Launchpad shop, use promo code LaunchDay, you get 10% off your order. We got a couple Rocket Lab items in there, a bunch of Starship items and different
The view
things.
on your screen is Electron's second stage Rutherford engine. This engine is the same as the 9 engines that lift Electron off the pad. but with an extended engine nozzle for optimized performance in the vac base.
So yeah, definitely check that out. We've got masks, shirts, hoodies, bags, mugs, a whole bunch of different things. The masks are really awesome, really cheap. If you're in our Discord, you can head on over to the Share Your Gear section, and you can see one of our friends, Marcus, has pretty much all of them, loves them, and are really good. So check those out. Everything that goes from that shop goes right back into being able to get the models and the equipment for us to be able to continue this and hopefully be able to get onto the ground here in the near future. We're currently coming up on stage 2 separation of the Photon in 30 seconds. So we are going to listen in for that. And then about 41 minutes after that, we will see ignition of the Curie engine. So we're going to listen in here for the second stage separation and the confirmation of orbit.
Seconds remaining.
Zico confirmed.
Fantastic news that the Rutherford engine on the second stage has successfully shut down as planned, and the kick stage has cleanly separated.
The kick stage is now going into its coasting phase for about 40 minutes or so while we wait for the circularization burn from our innovative Curie engine. In the meantime, we're going to take a small break, and you can join us back here in about 10 minutes as we're joined by Rocket Lab founder and CEO Peter Beck to answer some questions about our Neutron program. We'll be right back.
So any of you that are followers of Everyday Astronaut, sounds like they're enjoying some of his tunes right now, which is awesome. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, let us know. We're going to be staying live here as we wait for, we'll pull that down just a little bit, as we wait for Peter Beck to come up and talk more about Neutron. Again, if you're new, welcome. My name's Zach. I'm the host here at the launch pad. Here at the pad, we cover everything space, space flight, space engineering, and the future of space. Thrilled to have you here with us. As you can see on the left-hand side of your screen, they have progressed the timeline so we can see the different deployments that we can follow along with. So we will stay live and follow along with those. Depending how things are going, we're also going to take some sneak peeks. We are 5 subscribers away from 250. So if you hit subscribe, we're going to give you a sneak peek at something we're working on our social that we normally would only sneak peek on our Discord. So make sure to subscribe to us over on YouTube. If you're watching on Facebook or you're watching on YouTube and haven't done so yet, the link is in the description here. Yeah, I love that Rocket Lab uses it too. It's really awesome how like it's a big industry, but it's also very small knit. We really saw that with the Inspiration 4 missions and doing some of these interviews we've done. If you haven't seen those, we have sat down with Jared Isaacman, the commander of Inspiration 4. We've sat down with some of the competitors, and we'll be sitting down here in just a couple of weeks with the entire crew. So we'd invite you back to see that. If you join our Discord, once we have that firmed up, we're going to have a place where you can send in your questions either on Twitter or Discord. So make sure you're on one of those 2 platforms with us there. But we can see that Rocket Lab, little rocket, making its way over towards South America. Actually, very different graphic than we normally see something with SpaceX or NASA of just full daylight. From it, but very easy to see. You can also see the radar stations, it looks like, and some stuff there as well. So good launch. We're just waiting for Peter Beck to come up with a little bit more information, I guess, about Neutron, their exciting new rocket that they're going to be launching hopefully in 2024, which will allow for mass constellation launches as well as human spaceflight, as well as launches to other planets beyond Earth and the Moon. So lots of exciting things coming up. Again, if you're new, make sure you have followed us, hit the subscribe. We'd love to have you here. If you work for a rocket company and have an idea of a story you want to share, or you'd like to share your story more, we'd love to sit down with you. Make sure to reach out to us. And there, we've got a lot of exciting videos coming up in April that we're working on that we can't wait to share more about with you, taking a deep dive into aerospace companies, kind of as a one video, know everything you can, based on this year. Lots of exciting changes for many organizations Coming up later this week, we will have our live coverage of the Starship launch, currently which is targeting Wednesday. As well as on Wednesday, we have another SpaceX launch with Starlink, so we might be having a double broadcast day there. Basically, double broadcast day today. We had the Soyuz early this morning, then we were live through the early morning for the static fire of Starship SN11, and now Rocket Lab. So things are picking up, and we are thrilled that you're here with us. We're just going to take a quick break, and we will be back when Peter Beck is here in just a few moments, so stand by. So for those of you that have stuck with us here, we're just waiting for Peter Beck to join the stream with the Rocket Lab official stream to talk a little bit more with the internal Q&A about Rocket Lab, but we thought we'd give you just a little tease of something we've been working on in the background. I want to give a big shout out to Marcus in our Discord for helping with it. If you'd be interested in helping us with it, make sure to join the Discord, and it'll be in one of the behind the scenes thing. But one thing we want to do here at the Launchpad is recognize the launches of history. There have been some amazing missions in the past. Today we saw the announcement of LEGO with their new shuttle in recognition of the launch of Hubble and with the Hubble model. So there's been a lot of exciting missions. There's been a few missions that did not go as planned, and we want to recognize those as well. So one thing we have been working on just in the last couple of days here, we'll see how this pull-up goes, is we are currently building a database of basically every mission that has launched. Currently we're working through the shuttle, the Saturn V, and the Mercuries, and we are going to be recognizing every day there has been any launches with it. This is currently in development, so if you are interested in being part of helping us build it and recognize the full cruise and the payload, where it landed and everything there, we would love to have you as part of this kind of behind the scenes project, and we'll be working on starting this up hopefully in May, if not sooner, that we will start these almost daily posts. Depending on the launches. We've also had some days, I think we've got one day, we've got at least 3 on it. So we're excited to be just getting to shine that spotlight on what there has been. We're going to be working on adding in all the Falcon launches on here. We're going to be building in all the Soyuz, a lot of different things, Rocket Lab. We're going to put in some of the testing probably down the line. So there's going to be a lot to do here, a lot to keep it updated, and we're just really excited to be working on it. Again, if you're in the Discord or not, join us over on Discord. We're going to listen in here.
Joining us for this 19th Electron mission. Electron successfully lifted off at 11:30 local time and completed all of the key milestones of launch, including passing through max Q, main engine cutoff, first and second stage separation, ignition and burn of the second stage, and final separation of the kick stage from Electron ahead of payload deployment. Right now we're in a coasting phase, heading to the optimal position above Earth to deploy the 6 satellites on this mission, expected to occur in about 40 minutes or so. But while we wait, I am joined here in the studio by Rocket Lab founder and CEO Peter Beck to talk about our new rocket joining our launch vehicle family, Neutron. Peter, thanks for taking the time out of Mission Control to talk to me.
My pleasure, Mira.
Now, for those of you who might not be familiar with Neutron, Peter, why don't you tell us about the new rocket and why right now is the good time to build it?
Yeah, I mean, we spend quite a lot of time with Electron launching our customers, and Electron's been a fantastic vehicle to really pathfind a lot of constellations for our customers. So the conversation sort of went like, look, Pete, thanks very much for getting our first one in orbit, but actually now we've got a whole bunch of them we need to get there.
Mm-hmm.
So it became really, really obvious that there's a really, massive need in the marketplace for, for a vehicle specifically built for launching, mega constellations and constellations.
Mm-hmm. So you've talked about Neutron as a constellation builder, but what makes it ideal for that?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's right-sized. So, if you look at all the constellations that are in development in various forms, they all fall around a similar kind of mass class. And that 8 tons to orbit is really the ideal mass class, for building mega constellations. But not just mega constellations. In fact, if you look back through history, the average payload, mass lifted by all launch vehicles in all of history is between sort of 4 and 5 tons. So we think this is the right time to bring a vehicle that's right-sized to the market.
Cool. And what can you tell us about Neutron's engines?
Not a lot. It's a secret. No. I mean, there's areas that we're innovating and there's areas that we're not innovating. The engines always deserve their own name, so they certainly deserve their own limelight as well. So we'll make a little bit more announcement about engines in an appropriate time.
It'll be fun brainstorming some new names for those engines, I'm sure.
Oh, it's already named.
Have you? So tell me why you've selected Wallops as the launch site for Neutron.
Yeah, so Wallops is actually it's a fantastic mid-inclination site, and mid-inclination is really, really important for the majority of launch. We're able to leverage Pad 0A and the wonderful team there at Virginia and Wallops Island. Obviously we have the home of Electron there, so it made perfect sense to also put Neutron there as well. And one of the interesting things that if you start to look at launch vehicle design, you find a lot of launch vehicles kind of asymptote around that 3.9 meter diameter, and that 3.9 meter diameter is really a function of the lowest bridge between California and Florida. So we didn't want to use that as a design constraint for Neutron. So
makes sense.
Yeah, so we were looking for a launch site that we could also manufacture near as well.
Cool. And what is the biggest hurdle for you at the moment for Neutron's development?
Well, the biggest hurdle is for Rocket Lab is always talent. So I don't want to turn this into a shameless talent plug, but I mean, in all honesty, that has always been our throttle, is how quickly we can onboard people. The bar is high, and we're unashamedable that the bar is incredibly high at the company. That always is our throttle in developing any of Rocket Lab's programs.
There's a few hundred jobs expected to be created for this one, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Both in Virginia and New Zealand, and in fact, in every one of our locations, I think that is our throttle.
Sure. And how is the hat? Do you expect to be eating any more anytime soon?
Well, that's why I made sure that we talked about human spaceflight and all of the things that we could possibly do in the future in one hit, because that hat was just not tasty. And as you know, Muriel, it took 2 takes, so there was actually 2 hats consumed in the making of that video. So not looking for that to again. Also,
Neutron's capabilities, it's going to be reusable, isn't it?
Yeah, so that's probably the biggest fundamental difference between Electron and Neutron. So, Electron was all about how do we make the most manufacturable rocket. Neutron is how do we make the most reusable rocket. There's a bunch of things about, especially the first stage, that as we announce a little bit more about the program, people will be, I think, quite surprised with some of the innovation that's in that first stage. Because it really is, it really is about how do we make the most reusable, not serviceable, the most reusable launch vehicle in the world.
And speaking of recovery, can you tell us anything more about when we'll next see another Electron under a parachute?
Yeah, not too many missions away actually. So I was down sitting inside the stage there earlier in the week, and it's looking super good. So parachute was about to be packed into the stage, and all of the little thrusters and everything were on it. So it's all looking very good. And the next recovery mission is with a significantly upgraded heat shield. So the previous recovery missions have been basically, with upgraded block upgrade of stage 1 with reaction control systems and guidance systems and things like that. But we never really addressed the handling the thermal loads that we expected, because there was kind of no point, because unless you can control the entry of the stage, it's kind of irrelevant. So this one has a much more significantly upgraded heat shield, and so we're expecting much better performance and hopefully much better condition of the stage when we go and pick it back up.
How exciting. Any helicopters with this one? Will you be piloting a helicopter?
No, I'm nowhere near good enough I'm kidding myself to think that I was a good enough pilot to catch one. But no helicopters in this mission. Basically, we're going to splash them down in the ocean until such a point as actually the stage is what we would consider completely reusable. At that point, we'll bring in that extra element of logistics with helicopters.
Very nice. Hey, thank you, Peter, so much for joining me here. It's such an exciting time to be part of the team, and I personally can't wait to be front row and centre to watch Neutron launch from Virginia.
Yep, no, it'll be great. Thanks very much.
Now, back to the mission at hand, of course. We have another 40 minutes or so to go until the first payload deployment for They Go Up So Fast. This coasting graphic will keep us on track for where above the world is the kick stage, and we'll be back on your screens as we gear up for that first deployment, so see you shortly.
So a nice little quick conversation there with Peter Beck. We're working on hopefully trying to get to sit down with him here at the launch pad and ask some more questions in the future. Peter, if you're watching, we'd love to connect with you and just talk about Electron and Neutron and the exciting things happening with Rocket Lab for it. But yeah, as you said, or as they said, we've got quite a bit of time now, probably about 20 minutes until we see that first burn. And then a little bit more time for payload. So at this point, we're going to take a break here. We may or may not be back with commentary, depending how cooking dinner for the family goes for it. But we're going to definitely stay live, monitor this, and hopefully be back here. I'm going to be here for a while, though. So if you do have questions or anything, let us know in the chat, and I can try to pop back on and answer those for you. If you're asking questions in the chat, just let us know. Use the hashtag AskTLP. It can be anything with Electron, Neutron, SpaceX, Starship, Space, anything like that. Lots of exciting things to talk about. And again, if you are new, I'll introduce myself again. My name's Zach. I'm the host here at the Launchpad. We cover everything space, space flight, space engineering, the future of space, and thrilled to have you here with us for our live launch coverage of Rocket Lab. They've had a successful launch, successful second stage, and we are now just waiting for them to finalize their orbits and then start the payload deployment. Payload deployment is going to take over an hour and a half before it is fully completed, so we'll be live here for a while. If you like that database that we had up just prior to when Peter Beck jumped on, make sure you join our Discord, jump in. We're going to be live in our behind-the-scenes hangout, which is going to be open to the public tonight. If you want to come in, ask some questions, hang out, or be part of that, so definitely find the links to that in the description. Subscribe on YouTube, follow us on Twitter to stay up to late-breaking updates and different things, and we will hopefully see you next time later this week. We've got at least two things probably on Wednesday with Starship and Starlink, and possibly some other things later in the week. So for now, this is Zach with the Launchpad standing by. I will be back shortly. So we just got a question on Facebook from Vince. Welcome, Vince. Saying, is it Boeing Starliner test launch or Russian Soyuz will launch to the International Space Station? This week we've got a Starlink mission, so deploying 60 more satellites, and then we have the Starship test, which will be probably a 10 or 11 kilometer kind of hot belly flop, and hopefully fourth time's the charm. Success ending without explosion 10 minutes later. Not sure that's something any of us ever thought was going to be a possibility, that it lands and then explodes down the road, but hey, it's Starship. We do know Boeing Starliner is going to have a test later into April. I believe they delayed it by a couple days for something they were working on. So there is a test of that coming up here shortly. And then we had Soyuz this morning. There is another Russian launch I believe next week as well. Best way to stay up to date on that, follow us on Twitter. We'll always tweet out when we're going to go live for next launches. If you hear about a launch and we haven't announced doing it, send us a DM or tweet at us, and we will take a look and see if we can bring that coverage for you. We always want to try to do that. Last night was our first Soyuz coverage, so we had both the Russian and Roscosmos stream as well as the GK Launch Services stream with the English. So it was great taking a look at everything happening there. But great question, Vince. Lots of launches coming up. It is a busy year for launches. 2020, though a weird year for all of us, definitely set the foundation for 2021 to literally take off like constantly. So we're excited to see what's next. But great question. If you have a question, let us know in the chat. I'll be answering them now in the chat there as we wait to see this burn and then the deployment of all these satellites. I'm going to be signing off for the video, at least for probably tonight, and we will be back tonight on our Discord, and then we will see you back here on Wednesday for the Starlink mission. We'll see you soon.
Hey, and welcome back. Thank you for joining us for the 19th Electron mission. If you're just now joining us, we've had a successful liftoff. Everything has gone nominally, and we're currently in our coasting phase of our kick stage, waiting for the Curie engine kickoff. So that'll be approaching at about T plus 59 minutes, and we'll be burning for about a minute. And then we'll just be waiting for mission control to hear those calls and get a successful relight here momentarily. So stick with us, and we'll be checking back in shortly.
Hello and welcome back to Rocket Lab's mission. They go up so fast. If you're just joining us, Electron successfully launched today at 11:30 local time from Rocket Lab Launch Complex 1 in New Zealand. We completed first and second stage separation, successful ignition and burn of the stage 2 Rutherford engine, and then a final separation of the kick stage ahead of payload deployment. Very soon, this third stage of the rocket will perform a short burn of its Curie engine to circularize its path around Earth, ready to release this mission's satellites to their ideal positions. We are at T plus 47 minutes into the mission, and we're just waiting now for that engine burn, which is expected to occur shortly.
returning mission confirmed.
While we're waiting for the Curie burn to finish, I'm going to tell you a bit more about what will happen next for our customer satellites. With 4 of the satellites on this mission set to join their respective small-sat constellations, pinpoint payload deployment is absolutely critical. The ability of the kick stage and Photon's Curie engine to perform multiple relights means we can be very specific about where all of these satellites are deployed, even though they're all flying on the same vehicle. First, Photon, operating as a kick stage at the start of the mission, will deliver the majority of the satellites to a 550-kilometer circular orbit. That deployment will occur over a period of around 5 minutes or so. Then, with a short burn of the Curie, Photon will actually lower its altitude 100 kilometers closer to Earth to deploy the final payload to a 450-kilometer orbit.
But even then, we are still not done, because after payload deployment, our operators in mission control will issue a command to transition the kick stage into spacecraft mode and begin our secondary mission objective to test out new systems on our own satellite. This Photon will build flight heritage across its subsystems for our capstone mission to the Moon for NASA this year, as well as our private mission to Venus in 2023. We've got some new and exciting technology to demonstrate on Photon this time, including deep space radio capability, sun sensors and star trackers, and an upgraded reaction control system for precision pointing in space. We're coming up to the release of the first satellite from Electron shortly, so let's listen in for the calls from mission control. So we've had confirmation that the first satellite has been deployed from Electron, the M2 smallsat from the University of New South Wales, Canberra Space in Australia.
Up next is the Centauri 3 Internet of Things nanosat from Fleet Space. And there we go. We have confirmation of another successful deployment, this time for Fleet Space. 2 down, 3 to go at this orbit. The Viri Hatchling 1U CubeSat from CareWeather is up next. CareWeather is focused on saving lives through better forecasting of Earth's extreme weather.
Now what you're seeing on your screen is a simulation of payload deployment. We will confirm all payload deployments on our social media channels shortly. Great, and there is the third payload deployed from Electron. This one is tiny, it's about the size of a bagel. But next up is the small sat for SMDC. This one is the size of a loaf of bread and is being deployed by Rocket Lab's Maxwell CubeSat dispenser.
And as you can see in the simulation, the payload from the US Army's SMDC has been deployed to its 550-kilometer low Earth orbit. The final payload at this orbit is up next, and it's the Myriota 7 satellite.
We are just waiting now for the deployment of the Myriota satellite. And there it goes, that's the 5th satellite on this mission deployed. The Myriota has been deployed to its orbit as planned.
Congratulations to all of our mission partners so far, and let me be the first to welcome you to your new home in orbit above the Earth. We have one final payload to deploy on this mission, the Gen 2 spacecraft from BlackSky Global. But as we've mentioned before, we have to drop the kick stage to a lower orbit first.
We'll do this with a second relight of the Curie engine to change the kick stage's altitude, and 40 minutes or so after that event, Curie will be ignited for a third time to circularize its orbit around the planet at 450 kilometers above us. Then soon after that, kick stage will transition to photon mode and remain in that orbit to test out some of the spacecraft's new technologies.
We won't be live for confirmation of payload deployment, but it should look something like this. Keep an eye out on our social media channels for verification of final payload deployment and the transition to Photon later today.
Now, before we close out the webcast, I want to remind you that we are still actively recruiting for over 90 roles across the Rocket Lab team. So if you've ever wanted a career in space, there is no better time than now. Head to rocketlabusa.com for more information. And a huge congratulations to the entire Rocket Lab team on reaching this awesome milestone of over 100 satellites on orbit. And a huge thank you, of course, to our mission partners for choosing Electron to fly on your mission. And a final thanks to you for joining us for this launch. I'm Muriel Baker.
And I'm Scott Moeller. This is Rocket Lab Mission Control, signing off.